Hello everybody and welcome back to ZAWA! I've been working hard on creating a nice and dense jungle all around the city, made up of all the nice trees that we have in this mod pack that have green leaves, and I just love this mix of the different shades of green that we have here. So I think this does a lot to make this entire place feel more complete, so let's have a look at the journey map to see what I mean. I have surrounded this entire site with this mix of trees, and we have the water park here all the way up to here, and now it's also reaching around here. And the purpose of this is that if we stand anywhere in these areas of the city, what we see around us is more city, or in the background the jungle. I don't really want there to be any empty places left, although I think I won't be able to entirely avoid that. I'm not sure about what to do about that place over here, because I won't be able to fill that before the server resets, but I kind of want to leave it open so that I can eventually fill it up in single player. And of course down here we have the jungle all the way on the side over here, but the peninsula down here has been completely cleared of trees by me. But now unfortunately I won't be able to fill that before the reset. But if we can at least get the majority of this part up here done, I think that's going to look really great and be something that I can be really happy with. But I think if we at least get most of this area up here done, that's going to be something that I can be really proud of. Before we start with today's project, let's take a peek at the water park again and see how our animals are doing. So we have the frogs here and there, and honestly these guys have no chill at all. But I'm very happy to see one of them sitting up there on that vine, because that means that they're really using all the places they have in their little enclosures. And in here, I feel like the capybaras and otters have really been enjoying their life in here. They have explored all the places they have here in the water park. This capybara just enjoyed a bath, but was able to get out of the pool again. So as you remember, that is something that I was worried about, but apparently we just witnessed it happening. So there doesn't seem to be any issue there. And I've also seen the otters take regular swims, and they are amazing to see in the water. Let's see if we can find one that is currently swimming, because it just looks so cool. Hey little guy, do you want to go for a bath maybe? A quick swim? Okay, one of them just hopped in the water, and look at him jumping around there. Ooh, he's so fast I can barely follow him. But he looks like he's having a ton of fun. So these guys are just amazing swimmers, and so far he hasn't eaten all of the fishies in here, which I'm very thankful for. So maybe you noticed these weird circles on the journey map earlier. These are going to be today's project. So we are here right across from the gas station, and back there is the construction site. And maybe you remember how excited I was when I built the construction site about making something like construction equipment look cute and cool and like a nice place for animals. And today's project, I think, is going to be even wilder, because let me just say, those apartments being built back there may not be the most expensive apartments in the world, because what we're building right here is going to be a sewage treatment plant. So I don't know how many people before me have actually built a sewage treatment plant in Minecraft. I'm sure there's not many of them. But I actually got this idea because there's a sewage treatment plant not too far from where I live, and it's not in use anymore, luckily. But looking at it, I thought that it would actually be the ideal project for the city, because all these tubs that those sewage treatment plants have could each act as their own little exhibit, and they make like the perfect kind of enclosure that we want to have for animals in this city, that are not actual enclosures, but are something that the animals can't get out of, because I want them to ideally stay in the same place. And they could actually look very similar to actual zoo exhibits. And due to there being several of these tubs, we can actually fit several species in here. So I'm really excited about that, because this is going to be the final project that I'm doing on the server, and getting a few more animals in is really exciting. So of course, all of these exhibits are, due to the nature of a sewage treatment plant, going to be a little bit more on the swampy side, but we do have actually some animals that I think this would be perfect for. So I do have a few of the animals in here in this chest. We have the Pac-Man frog, which is a native of this jungle biome actually. So all of these have been spawning here, and I've just been collecting them. So the Pac-Man frog is quite a big frog that actually sometimes eats birds and rodents and things like that, and not just like insects like other frogs do. We also have the bullfrog, which I think lives more in like a plains or grasslands kind of biome, a little bit more dry maybe than the rainforest. So I think we can make something quite comfortable for him. And we have the pond slider, which is a type of turtle. And I think something swampy will be perfect for that. So I think these 3 species could fit into 3 of these round tubs, and then we have 1 left. And I thought maybe I will just put these box turtles in there, because these box turtles keep spawning in my zoo, and apparently they like it here, so why not make an exhibit for them? And then I have something else planned for this rectangular tub, but I think I'm going to keep that a surprise until the end of the episode. So this process is going to be quite similar to the one that we had over at the water park, actually, because what I need to do next is dig out these tubs. And I don't want to dig them out too deep, I guess, because ground level is actually going to be at the top of these netherrack blocks, and I want to raise the rim of those tubs by 1 more, but still there's going to be a little bit of depth needed, especially so that we also have space to decorate down there a little bit. All right, we have 4 of these majestic buckets, and I did a little bit of research, and apparently the bottom of them is usually like funnel shaped, but we're just going to imagine that they're filled up with debris and therefore the bottom is kind of flat, and then we're going to build the exhibit in there anyway and shape all of this a little bit differently, but this is basically the base that we are working in. And this one here already has 2 little box turtles in here that spawned in the area while I was working, and so I put them in here. They are Amboina box turtles. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I thought they were very pretty, and that's why I collected them. But I need to do a little bit of research on what kind of habitat these guys like, because to be honest, I have no idea. I've also marked out a few other things. So here I want to have a building where kind of the administrative tasks take place, and maybe the workers can have a cup of coffee or something like that. And then in the back there, I still had some space, so I researched what else we could put in a sewage treatment plant. And it turns out that they sometimes have those kind of silo-shaped things where the treatment of the sludge takes place. So I thought I'd build something like that back there, just to fill up the space and add some more interest. Because I think it's great if we can add some more vertical things, like taller buildings, as well as the other things are going to be rather flat, except for the house, of course. But since we don't have a lot of time, because we have 5 entire exhibits to do in this episode, I want to get going. I want to build the house, the silos, and the entire surroundings, do the ground cover and all of that in one big time lapse, so that after that we can get started with the exhibits. right, here we go. So for the administrative building, I decided on this kind of peach color because I didn't want it to look too pretty. I wanted it to look more utilitarian, but I didn't want to make it white because I already have a lot of white buildings. Last episode, we built a white building in the water park, and there's like lots of white already around in the other things around here. So that's why I decided on that, and I think, yeah, it looks pretty much like a nondescript office building, so that's perfect. We have this rectangular pool here. I don't know, would you call them pools? No idea. But anyway, they have all these bridges around that. I saw that a lot on pictures of sewage treatment plants, so that's why I did it that way. I don't know why exactly that is. If anyone can explain it to me in the comments, that would be very welcome. And the round pools also have a bridge that goes in the middle, and that's going to be very helpful for us to look at the animals that are down there. In this case, we have our two Amboina box turtles down there, and we're going to build a nicer habitat for them, because right now that's pretty plain. And then I built these two silos with a tower in between. It's pretty similar to a picture I found for something related to sludge treatment. I'm a little bit unhappy with the fact that since I use exactly the same blocks for these that I used for the other things as well, so the round tubs and the rectangular thing, it all looks a little bit samey. So maybe I will change that eventually. For now, let's leave it like that. Or maybe I will just try and hide it behind lots of plants that are overgrowing these things and hope that that makes it better. So I just discovered two more of the Amboina box turtles over here, so I'm gonna name tag them and just put them in the habitat with the others. I don't want too many animals in there. The nice thing is we can just pick them up and carry them over. But yeah, I don't want to put too many animals in there because it's not that big of an habitat, and I don't think that many animals would accumulate in there like in a natural way. And of course, I always want this to look very natural. But I am actually quite excited because I think this is the first time in the zoo that I'm going to be building like real actual little exhibits for the animals, like where I take care to make it exactly in a way that they would feel perfectly comfortable in there. All right, we have 4 of them in here now, and I think that is enough. But what I want to start with is the Pac-Man frog over here. Right now, this doesn't look like perfect Pac-Man frog habitat, but it's going to. So I looked it up, and apparently one of the places that Pac-Man frogs like to live are freshwater marshes, and so I'm going to model this a little bit after that. So since this is going to be a marsh, I want to have several bodies of water in here, at least 2, I'd say, and since I hollowed out this entire thing, we're going to be building it layer by layer from the ground up. So we're going to start with the bottom layer of the ponds that we're going to have in here. And I like to use the dark oak mulch for the bottom of ponds because I think it makes the water look nice and deep because it's so dark. So let's try one here. One over here. And a third one here. So everything that's not pond is just going to have a layer of dirt underneath it, and so we know where the ponds are going to go and where the rest of the terrain is going to go. So for the next layer, I want to use this meadow grass block because I feel like it just looks a little bit more wet than the normal grass block. And so I think it will do very nicely for the edge of the ponds. And for good measure, let's just add a little bit of the dark oak mulch to the edges as well. And actually I also have these mud blocks that are a slightly different color, and I think those could look interesting as well. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more of the mud around. The unfortunate thing about the mud is though that we can't plant anything on it, so that's why I don't want to use too much of it. But now I can just fill up everything else with the normal grass because I don't actually have that much of the meadow grass blocks. Okay, let me put some water in and then that layer is done. And just going to add a little bit of elevation here on the sides so that it's more three-dimensional. And we can't go any higher than that or the frogs will get out. I don't know if they can climb. I hope not, to be honest. We'll just have to see about that. Okay, next up is plants. So I want there to be a lot of plants in the water. So let me just fill that up mostly. That is just a little bit too much. That looks too uniform. And for the top of the water, I have a little bit of duckweed, which I think works very well here. And this water hawthorn, but I'm going to use that very sparingly. Now up here, I'm just going to start out with some grass. And if we get any flowers... Oh, wow. I didn't know you get these roses on the meadow grass. But I don't want them here, unfortunately. And neither do I want the vanilla flowers. Interesting, the things you find out when the game is almost done. These flowers actually aren't too bad. I'm just gonna leave them there. Okay, we have a bit of grass, but I also want some of the ferns. I like those a lot. So let's just remove some of the very tall and intrusive grass and replace it with ferns. And let's make some of the ferns big because I also like how those look. I brought a few leaves as well, the fir leaves actually, and I think those will work really well. I like the little bit bluish tone that they have. I'm just gonna add some of them to some places, and we need to be careful that we don't raise anything around the edge too much so that, that the frogs can just hop out. And for a little splash of color, I have chosen these peach leather flowers, which I think look really nice in here. Okay, now I want to get the Pac-Man frogs in, and it just started raining, which is very fitting. I really like how this turned out. I think it could use a little bit of shade, but I'm just going to plant some trees around it once I'm in the stage of plantifying the entire place. And that's going to take care of that, I think. All right, let's have a look. And in the water he goes. Is that okay for you? Are you okay, little dude? You just have a look what kind of Pac-Man frog we are looking at. An ornate Pac-Man frog. All right, I hope you're okay in there. I'm going to have a look at the other ones now. Hello, and you are a green Pac-Man frog. Well, that's fitting, I guess. And another one in the water looks like a green Pac-Man frog as well. And another green one. Well, I think that's great. I'm going to have a look after them in a little bit. Oh, you're also going in the water. Well, all right then. So it doesn't look like they're colliding with the plants, which is great because it means that they can't get stuck underneath them. And they're all splashing around. Well, that's one habitat done, only 4 more to go. So in here I want to put the pond sliders, which are turtles. And I just noticed when I did this one over here that if I start the layer of the bottom of the pools where I dug everything out, then I don't have much space to do some vertical terrain work. So I think here I'm going to dig out a little bit. And I think for the pond sliders, I want to have just one bigger pond instead of several small ones. Okay, this is going to be our pond. And I thought a little bit about how we can make it if all of our exhibits are, keep calling them exhibits, all of our little habitats are going to be mostly swampy. How can we make it so that they don't all look the same? So for this one, I decided on a palette of some podzol, some peat, and some spruce mulch, and probably I will be using some normal dirt and grass, of course, in between there too. Okay, this is a bit of a wild mix of blocks. I think the peat doesn't go very well with the other colors, to be honest. And the contrast between the podzol and the very green grass that we have here in the jungle is a bit of an eyesore, but I think once we add some plants on top of here, it's going to look better. But I decided to only use the peat underwater because there I think it won't be much of an issue. Yeah, so with the water on top, the peat only adds a little bit of texture, but we can't really see the color anymore. Now let me think. I want the terrain to be a little bit steeper here. So I'm just going to add a base layer so that I can add more layers on top. Okay, we have a pretty steep slope over here, and I hope that the turtles are going to be fine with navigating that. Again, I want the water to be pretty overgrown, and since it's too deep in the middle, we can actually put the hornwort down there. And this is a pretty dense looking plant, so that's perfect. Then the Amazon sword, which I have to say, I really like this water plant. I wish we had something like that for above water as well. And then the Java moss, which is perfect to fill up the empty spaces. So it looks a little bit weird right now because I have night vision on. I think without night vision it's going to look much better. But anyway, I want to add some of the duckweed on top again. And this time I also brought this red root floater, which is kind of similar in texture but has a bit of a different color. So that's nice. So this time I chose some brighter colored leaves because I feel they go really well with this orange and green contrast that we have going on. And we have some room left here to go vertical, so I can add a bit of a taller, bushier plant over here. So as for plants, I want to add a lot of ferns, but I also want to add this Arctic moss, which if I plant it in a different place, we can see that it also has these like green and a little bit of hint of orange tone. So I think that works perfectly with the color scheme that we have going here. With the Arctic moss, you have to be a little bit careful because each block that you place it on has its own value for the height at which it's placed. And you can see that in some blocks it almost disappears, and in others you can see it very well. And I want to go for the blocks where you can see it well instead of for the ones where it disappears. So I'm just like trying out all the different blocks, placing it everywhere, and I'm leaving it in the places where it sticks out the most. Like this. That's perfect. This has to go. Okay, I think I've got the Arctic moss in the best possible places, so now I'm just going to add a lot of the ferns, and especially on our podzol and the spruce mulch, because I want to mellow this out a little bit so that it blends in more with the green that we have from the grass. So some of these ferns get to be tall again, and I prefer doing that in the corners where they don't stick out too much. Okay, we almost don't have any surfaces left over, but I wanted to add just a few of these Incan lily flowers because they are really cute and I think they go well in here. I think this looks really beautiful and I hope our turtles like it as well. Okay, let's pick out a handful of the pond sliders. Okay, you just went on and disappeared in the corner there. Who are you? Need to get you out of there first so that I can identify you with the book. All right, a Cumberland pond slider. You are really pretty and your colors fit really well in here, I feel. Okay, next one. Where did you go? You look the same. I think you are the same kind of turtle. Another one of those. And this one looks different. Where are you? Over here. Can I get to you with the book? A yellow-bellied pond slider. Oh, look at that. Those ones have little red cheeks, except for that one. I wonder if that's like a sexual dimorphism. So this one is a female and that's a male. Yeah, looks like it, but I really like those red cheeks. Okay, our last one is also a Cumberland. Well, now I feel a little bit bad for you. Maybe I should check if I have one more of these, because having just a single one of this species would be a bit weird. Look at them, how they're all looking at me. You guys are too funny. I'm gonna check to see if I have another one. Okay, that's another Cumberland. And another Cumberland. So that's too many of you guys. I'm so sorry. Alright, I haven't caught any more pond sliders, but I do have 2 spawn eggs actually. So let's just try out and see what we get when we open them. Huh. Another one of you guys, huh? Well, alright. I guess you're going to be the only yellow-bellied in here. I'm sorry about that. But I think this is a little bit too many turtles, so I'm going to catch some of them again. Just because I think so many of them at the same time just wouldn't feel comfortable down here. So these guys have calmed down a little bit, looks like. There's one splashing in the water back there. He has chosen to try out a different one of the ponds, but other than that, I think they look quite happy in here. So now it's bullfrog time, and I looked it up. I thought they lived more in a little bit drier, more like grassland areas, but it turns out they don't. They also live in the water. I probably believe that because in Zawa they spawn in the plains. But we're going to make another aquatic habitat. So this time I think I want to have an island in the middle and water surrounding it. And for the ground cover of the water part, I brought some of the green terracotta because I remember that we used green concrete over in the water park to make it look like algae is covering the sides. So I think this could work really well in here as well. This is a really weird piece of texture right here. Anyway, I need to dig out a little bit. So for the island, I'm just going to sprinkle in a few of those oak mulch blocks, even though they look a little bit drier, just because I already kind of decided on using those for the bullfrog habitat. Okay, a little bit of a hill in the middle, but it looks very weird without the water, so let's add that. And the nice thing about the terracotta is that underwater we can actually place plants on it. Otherwise, I think I wouldn't be using it because, as you know, I like lots of water plants. But yeah, with the terracotta, this just isn't an issue. Okay, so we have this little island here in the middle, and I added the water plants already because I didn't want to bore you. Because it's basically the same thing again, especially down there. I did add some water lettuce on top though, and this one is pretty cool because it has these really deep roots that you can see, and I like them a lot. So since I'm going for a little bit more of a dry look here for the island in the middle, I brought some of this prairie grass and the Johnson grass, but I need to use those sparingly because they are a bit in your face. So let's just use a few of those, not too many. So I have a few brighter green leaves to go with the theme, but I just want to use very few of those. And then I think I'm going to do mostly grass, some of the short grass as well. There's only just like a little bit of variety in height, but I feel like it makes a bit of a difference. So I want to have just a tiny little pop of color like we do in the other habitats. And I think this violet leather flower would work well for that. I actually think it looks more blue than violet. And it's a nice contrast to the brown tones that we have in here. I think it's time to put our bullfrogs in. Okay, like last time, I want to have a look. Oh, this one is bright yellow, actually. An Indian bullfrog. You look cool, and he has like blue cheeks that you can sometimes see. He looks like he's actually swimming. He doesn't really have an entire swimming animation, but he is kind of gliding through the water. Okay, next one. An American bullfrog. Okay. You guys are quite active. An African bullfrog. I think these are the 3 varieties that we have in here. Okay, I think this is another African and another American probably. Wow, we are just banging out one habitat after the other today. And if this video turns out quite long, I apologize. I just really feel the need to get all of this done in one video because I really don't have a lot of time left before the server closes. We only have one of the round habitats left to do, and it's the one for the turtles, the box turtles. Amboina box turtles, or however you pronounce that. And we have done 3 little ponds, we have done 1 bigger pond, and we have done an island in the middle. So I think here we will do a little stream, even if it won't be moving, but kind of separate this habitat between 2 land masses and have some water in between there. I just hope these guys don't get into my way too much. Otherwise, I will have to place them somewhere else for the time being. Okay, so regarding the block palette in here, I want to use the dark oak mulch again. And this time I will actually be using the peat above the water as well. I have the meadow grass block again, and then I have the overgrown stone, and I really like that one a lot. So let's see how it looks when I'm done with it. So I feel that the overgrown stone gives the entire habitat a little bit more of a clean look, because it looks like there's just like less dirt around and more like rockiness. And that's also why I have chosen to make the underground plant situation just a little bit more sparse. Like, it's not sparse by any means, but just a little bit more than the other habitats are. And I've chosen the water hyacinths for on top here. I love the purple flowers, and I think they go well with the other blocks that we have been using. So here I want to use a lot of ferns because I feel like they just look super lush, more than the grass does. I do have a little bit of the short grass for in between though too. But first, let's just go completely wild with the ferns. Actually, before we do that, we need to add some leaves. I almost forgot about that. I have some dark green leaves for this habitat that I think will go well. So a few of the ferns get to be tall again, but just a few of them. So regarding flowers, I have been debating, since we already have the water lettuce here, if I should add some more flowers, but I think I want another color in here, so I decided on the Lazarus bellflower, which is quite a showy flower, but I really like the color. It's such a cool color, but since it's so bright, I think I'm just going to add like very few of them, like maybe 3. Do we think that's good? One more maybe? Yeah, I think that's perfect. Now, I haven't told you yet what's going to go into this big tub over here, but I think now is a good time to spill the beans. So I want to put the dwarf crocodiles in here. Yeah, we're going to have crocodiles in our sewage treatment plant. So I think this is going to be a nice space for them. But to be honest, right now I have enough of habitat building and I need a bit of a break. So I think this is going to be a perfect time to start another time lapse where I just plantify the entire place. I want to take a little bit of care though, because let's look at this from the top. I really love how those different habitats look from directly above, and I don't want the surrounding foliage to just drown out the different habitats that we have in here. So I think I'm going to be quite careful with how much grass I add around here, especially right next to the habitats. But anyway, let's go! Everything's so nice and planty now, and that means that we can finally start with the dwarf crocodile habitat. So I thought of having a river-like feature that runs the length of this tub and just like meanders slightly. So I'm going to dig out a little bit so that we can have this nice and deep, because I think the crocodiles are going to need a little bit more space to swim. So I've just realized that I keep using the black sand for the surface of the roads in my city, but I haven't used it for any animal habitat yet. So why not use some of that for the dwarf crocodile? So I think the bottom of the river is going to be made out of this, and then probably some gravel and a little bit of dirt. So this will be the very bottom of the river, so I'm just going to mix it up in here. So this river is going to be 2 blocks deep, so we need another layer of river bottom, basically. I really hope this looks good when there's water in there, but first I need to build up the terrain. So for the terrain, I want to add a little bit of the black sand again, especially around the edges of the river. Well, I'm calling it a river. It's not a river, it's just a long piece of water. But basically, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of sand at the edges, but I don't want to use too much because there's not a lot of plants that can grow on there, especially none that are like nice and lush and jungle-like. So there's just going to be a little bit of that. And then apart from that, I'm going to use the meadow grass and the normal grass again and just mix it up a little bit. I feel like the sand would probably kind of accumulate at like the inside bends of our water here, so I'm going to put it mainly there, and let's see how that looks once there's water in the river. Okay, time for the water, because I really want to see what this looks like. And another layer. Yeah, I like this. We need a little bit more height in the terrain, but I think only one more layer, or maybe two in this place here because we have a lot of space, but mostly just one. Yeah, this works really well, I think. So now I'm going to put our usual water plants in. Okay, the water plants are in, and with bigger areas like these, I like to go for a little bit more of a patchy distribution. So I have a patch of the water hyacinth over here and over there, and one in the back, and then a patch of the water hawthorn here, because I think this looks better than just evenly distributing it when we have such a large area. It worked well for the smaller habitats, but not here, I think. So next is foliage, and I have decided to go with the cypress leaves again, because they are nice and bright, and this feels a little bit dark, especially with the shaders on, because it's quite deep and the sun is shining in diagonally. So the entire side over here is in the shade basically all the time. So I thought I'd use the more brighter colored leaves instead of the darker ones. And for other plants, I want to do a lot of the Arctic moss again. And again, I need to make sure that I put it in the places where you can see it well, because it has this nice bright color. So same as with the leaves, that's why I'm using this. Okay, I think this is beautiful. So let's put the crocodiles in. And I think they're going to want to bite me, so I need to be careful. Hello. What do you think of this place? Oh, you're not aggressive. That's nice. But you're grumpy. That's fine. So am I. Who are you? You are sleepy? You look like another grumpy. And another sleepy, I think. Wonderful. I hope you guys enjoy yourself in here. Oh, yeah. All right, I see. That's enough of me standing around there, I guess. Well, everyone, that was quite the episode. We built 5 different habitats. So that's the most animals that I've ever done. But this was also a bit of a bittersweet moment, because this is going to be the last episode from the server, at least of me building the city. I think there's going to be at least a tour that is still coming from the server. But after that, I am not quite sure how this is going to continue yet, so I will definitely be storing my city as a single player world so that I can come back to it when I want to. But so far, I don't know when that is going to be. But what I certainly want to do is check out the new zoo server when it comes, which will be really soon, or might already have happened at this point, because I'm not sure how quickly I can release this. Right now, I'm just focused on getting everything built and not focused so much on editing. But anyway, I am excited about the new server that is about to come, and I definitely plan to build a new zoo. And who knows, maybe this time it will actually be a zoo. But for now, that is it. Thank you all so much for taking this journey with me. It's been a great one. I have learned a lot about making videos during this time and about Minecraft, and I've had a lot of fun, and I hope so did you. Thank you all very much for watching. You are the best. And I'm going to see you soon. Bye bye.